Hello, I'm Mike, and I have a question for you. What happens when you take 290 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque and send it all to the front wheels? You get something called torque steer. This was a very common problem in high-power front-wheel drive cars of the 90s and 2000s. But has technology improved enough to help this 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line curb the effects of torque steer? Well, to find that out, let's go for a drive. To find out if it's worked, let's do a quick acceleration test. Have it stopped, put it into Sport Plus mode, turn off the stability control system. There it is, foot on the brake, foot hard on the throttle, launch control is ready. A little bit of wheel spin, but pretty controllable, and it didn't feel too much. Just put it back into normal. Didn't feel too much in the way of torque trying to steer the wheel. So with launch control, it's not bad. However, if you do that again without launch control, then you get a whole lot of wheel spin, like so. That was quite a bit of wheel spin. So obviously this 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line does not have a mechanical limited slip differential. It relies heavily on the traction control system to massage each front brake very quickly, depending on which wheel loses grip and which one doesn't. As a result, every time you exit out of a corner with full power and traction control is off, then the inside wheel is going to spin. But with it on, it tries to manage that power. Obviously, you're not going to go as fast and it reins in the power a bit. But in terms of actual torque steer, it doesn't feel like it's tugging all that much, at least compared to a car from the mid-2000s. But if you can get all that power down, 0 to 60 miles an hour or 96 kilometers an hour gets done with in about 5.5 to 6 seconds, depending on how well you get that power to the ground. And of course, depending if the ground is damp or if it's cold or if you have winter tires like how this particular demo vehicle has. But under the most ideal conditions, Car and Driver actually managed to get this car off the line to 60 miles an hour in 5 seconds, which is very, very quick and impressive as well. While it may be difficult to get it off the line, when you're actually moving and you're trying to overtake someone on a highway, for example, just gently roll on the throttle and this engine has plenty of punch. But even with all this power, the fuel economy figures are not that bad. It is rated for 10.1 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Better yet, premium fuel is not a requirement. Furthermore, the fuel economy figures are achievable in the real world, as I averaged 8.8 liters per 100 kilometers during my time with the 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line. Paired with this engine is an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, and this is one of the better ones out there. In normal comfort mode, when you set off from a stop, you don't feel any sort of juddering, and while it does feel a little bit sluggish to actually engage the clutch, it's doing that to provide the most comfort. Switch the drive modes to a Sport or Sport Plus and clutch engagement is much, much quicker. When it comes to the shifts themselves, they are quick, as you would expect from a dual clutch transmission. In comfort mode, they are a little bit on the slower side, but again, that's to provide the utmost comfort. Switch to Sport and Sport Plus mode, and the shifts are like that. One thing that really impresses me about this Sonata N Line are the brakes. They're not some fancy 4-piston Brembo calipers or AP racing calipers or anything like that, but they are larger than the standard Sonata models. These brakes provide a lot of stopping power, and under daily commutes, you don't need to stomp on the brake pedal that hard to actually get the car to stop. If you're driving a bit more aggressively, you'll have plenty of confidence in that brake pedal. When it comes to driving around twisty roads in the Sonata N Line, there's two ways that you can do it. If you're gentle with the throttle and steering input, the Sonata N Line rewards you with a responsive and direct front end. The front tires point to wherever you point the steering wheel, and the engine's power doesn't get wasted with wheel spin if you're gently accelerating out of a corner. But if you behave like a hooligan, then you are constantly fighting against the traction control system. Or if you turn it off, then the inside front wheel just spins and you end up understeering and not going anywhere in a hurry. The Hyundai Sonata N Line receives slightly firmer suspension compared to the other regular models, but it's not so firm that it feels uncomfortable to drive on a daily commute, for example. You do notice that it's a little bit more firm and there's a little bit less body roll, but like I said, it's very comfortable for daily commutes or long journeys, and I don't even have to play Minesweeper with the deeper potholes. I can comfortably just drive right over them and not feel like as though my back just broke. Inside the Hyundai Sonata N Line, you'll find a lot of gray. There's gray seats, gray center console, gray steering wheel, gray dashboard, gray headliner. Although it's a different type of gray, it's much darker, but it's all gray. It makes me feel like I'm back in the 1990s with a 4:3 aspect ratio and desaturated colors. But anyway, there is a little bit of red stitching, and at night there's ambient lighting to try and break up all the grayness, but to me it still feels too much gray. Apart from that, the interior is actually very well laid out. It's really simple to use. Climate controls are straightforward. There is a push button style gear selector, which is not to everyone's taste, but I'm okay with it. Cup holders will hold a small cup of McDonald's coffee, and there's a slot in between them for your cell phone, and there's also wireless charging should you want to use it. The infotainment system is really responsive and really simple to use. My only minor complaint, I should say, is the capacitive style buttons on either side. I much prefer it if they were physical buttons like how the climate control has, but that's just one little niggle that I have. In terms of actual space inside the Hyundai Sonata N Line, there is quite a bit of it. I am 6'4" and headroom is plentiful. It actually has the most amount of headroom compared to the Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, and Mazda 6. Same story with front legroom. Plenty of it, and these seats are also very, very comfortable. They also have a bit more side bolstering compared to the regular Sonatas. In the back though, headroom is okay, but on paper, the Hyundai Sonata actually has less legroom than the Camry, Accord, and Mazda 6. But in reality, as I sit behind my driving position, I actually have plenty of space. So, like I said, it's a spacious interior. Trunk space is also generous at 453 liters of cargo volume with the rear seats up. This is only behind the Honda Accord, with the Mazda 6 and Toyota Camry providing less. The rear seats can fold 60/40 for more cargo capacity. A minor annoyance I have with the trunk is the lack of a pull tab when trying to close the trunk lid. It just doesn't have one. This being a sporty version of the Sonata with an engine that no other trim level gets, you'd think that it's the most expensive trim. Not so. The ultimate trim of the Sonata is $750 Canadian more expensive than the N Line, which costs $37,999 Canadian. For this price, the Sonata N Line receives heated front and rear seats, heated steering wheel, a 10.25-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, wireless phone charging, a head-up display, a 12.3-inch full digital driver instrument cluster, ambient lighting, panoramic sunroof, remote start, adaptive cruise control, lane centering system, and of course the 2.5-liter turbocharged engine. On the outside, the Sonata N Line gets the full sporty sedan treatment. It has a subtle lip spoiler on the trunk, quad exhaust tips, large 19-inch wheels, and slightly tweaked front bumper. But even with all these changes, I'm still not a fan of the exterior design. To me, it looks like a fish from the bottom of the deepest oceans on Earth. So in the end, is this 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line worth it? Well, you're getting a lot of value for your money. That's always been the case with Hyundai and Kia products. And on highways at least, this thing is a monster. But trying to get all that power off the line is very, very difficult. And for me personally, I don't like the styling and I don't like how gray the interior is. So what I would actually do is buy the Honda Accord Sport. It may not be as powerful or as fuel efficient, but to my eyes, it looks better and the power is more manageable. However, if you do like the styling of the Sonata N Line, it is a good car, and it's the fastest of the mid-size sedans, at least in a straight line. But if you want to know more about this 2021 Hyundai Sonata N Line, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or maybe an N-Line SUV. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.